Hello everyone, welcome back again to Spiritual Growth Tarot and Astrology. I'm Denise. I hope you're doing really well. As always, sending you big hugs, lots of love, lots of prayers going out to Florida especially, and the East Coast and Puerto Rico. My goodness. Sending lots of peace. Okay, so as you can see, this is your astrology reading for the week of we're going from the 9th, so Sunday, October 9th through Saturday, the 15th. But on the 9th here, we have the full moon in Aries coming in. And then, like we had last week, we've had Mars square Neptune. And I was checking ahead to see, like, how long is that going to last? Because that's intense. Mars in Gemini square Neptune in Pisces, that's intense when it comes to information spin, lies being told, water activated, storms activated, things like that. And it's lasting all the way through to December 4th. I checked ahead, so I'm a little concerned about that, but there's lots of good transits too. And we will end the week with the moon in Gemini, right at the, I think, 25 or 26 degrees Gemini. So anyway, instead of talking about it here, let me show you the chart. So let me bring the camera overhead and get this reading started for you. Okay, hold on. Okay, so this week I'm starting out with the Aries full moon. Well, we're starting out on Sunday, but I changed the time. Oops, chopstick here. To 1:55 p.m. rather than 6 a.m. because I noticed that there really wasn't much, the only thing that changed was a little bit of the exact degree in the opposition between the sun and the moon, which is always the full moon. So I just went with this chart for the day. So early in the morning, things are the same. The moon's still in Aries and still conjunct Chiron. It's just not at that exact degree that we have at about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, just 5 minutes before. And you can see, so the sun's at 16 degrees, 32 minutes Libra, and the moon is at 16 minutes, 32 degrees Aries. So we have that exact opposition. We also have, and I'll talk about that, we also have Chiron opposing Venus. So, like I was saying last week, because Chiron opposing Venus and the Sun has been giving us that opportunity to heal relationship issues and how we relate to ourselves in the world around us, right? And each other, because everything's a mirror. The universe is always mirroring back to us the sum total of all of our beliefs, although it's not perfect here on Earth. So don't beat yourself up when things don't go right. Things take longer on Earth to manifest. And in the spirit world, it's like Shazam! Bam! You think and feel something and you have it. You're in it. Here we have the downtime to correct our mistakes, at least. I guess that's one positive way we could look at it. And it might be that with the Sun conjunct Venus, traveling through, this will be with us all month long, the Sun and Venus conjunct. And a conjunction is when, of course, two planets form together, and it emphasizes both of them. Like the Sun will shine the light on Venus, and Venus will help the Sun. Venus, of course, is the most challenging, it's our survival issues, who we, commune with. On the deeper issues as well, it has to do with what we value the most. So we may be valuing relationships of kindred spirits, excuse me, more than ever. And that will especially be prominent with this full moon that happens Sunday afternoon. So you may wake up Sunday morning feeling either like you had a breakthrough, because oppositions can bring confrontations which lead to breakthroughs. And you may wake up from a dream where you realize, oh, well, that's why I think that way, or that's why I believe this or that, or this is what happened. And that led to, like when you realize why you have a false belief, that leads to that ability to completely break through it and turn it around. And that is what I'm seeing with the Chiron conjunct the moon opportunity, as well as, like, if that's not enough, let's look at, and I'm just using yellow here so I don't mess up the coloring so much you can't see the planets. Jupiter opposing Mercury. Now, Mercury in the latest, just 20 more minutes and we'll be at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, the nth degree of Virgo. And Virgo is all about healing and discerning and tracking patterns and getting really clear. And with it opposing Jupiter, Jupiter's over here going, hey, let's do some healing work. That's why I'm here. I'm big and I protect you. I can expand things and make things, I can blow things up so that you can see what's really going on. And opposing Mercury, it has to do with the way we think, the way we communicate, and how we gather the facts, how we use the facts that we've been gathering. Mercury tends to negotiate as well, but most of all, so Mercury finds patterns, and Virgo finds patterns. Mercury connects the dots, and so does Virgo, but that's because Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini. So here we have this healing opportunity to do the healing, basically. And that is especially reinforced because we have Chiron here in this, quincunx to the south node. So healing the past. Also, this full moon, it is exposing the full moon. So the sun is shining light, just big old spotlight on the moon. The moon has to do with our emotions. It has to do with our bodies. It has to do with public figures. It has to do with the feminine. It has everything to do with what we can attach to and connect with and digest, and how we use our intuition, how we respond to other people, how we take care of ourselves and are devoted to taking care of others, those in our lives that we are. And that is needing to make an adjustment to the past. Now, why would we need to make an adjustment coming from the past? Well, I'm thinking that because of, and this is again in effect, this Neptune square Mars that I talked about last week, this is huge because this will expose liars, con men, con women, cheaters, abusers, anyone who's been out of integrity will be exposed over the coming months. And into, my goodness, Mars squares Neptune until December 4th. And so, and that's just with the tide orb. There's also, so we're approaching, you can see how Mars is at 22 degrees. It's going to go retrograde and go all the way back, I think, to like 25 degrees. And so it's tide orb now, but it's going to go back and then it'll go forward. And so we're in this period between now and December 4th where we're really going to be seeing who lies. We're going to be witnessing, my goodness, the lies that come through really dark ads meant to hold their position of power, meant to try and pull one over your, pull the wool over your eyes, just pull one over on you. We're talking Newt Gingrich. We're talking, Ted Cruz. We're talking all these people who are lying and holding on to, what's his name, Herschel Walker, who definitely, there's proof. There's proof that he paid for an abortion. While he's saying that he's for a total abortion ban. ban. So here he is. He's been the chosen one by the GOP because he could be taken advantage of because I don't want to call him the poor guy, but the guy does have Dame Bramage, right? He's been hit in the head too many times. He has a concussion from being a football player. Not that I feel sorry for him at all, but that I'm just laying out the facts here. So it's things like this, because Mars in Gemini will spin information and pushes the information out. And then here we have Mercury in this trine up here to Pluto. So Mercury is the messenger. Mercury brings out the details. In Virgo, it's tracking patterns. Wonderful news reporters and people who know where to look, and they've been tracking things for a long time, and they go, oh, I remember that guy saying this, and they can go back and literally pull it out of an archive, which is Mercury and Virgo energy. This is like librarians rock. Mercury and Virgo. Librarians rock. That's the best way I can say it. And then with the trine going up to Pluto in Capricorn, it will absolutely expose the people who have been in power. And now Pluto's not retrograde anymore. It's going direct, and we get to see even more as to how these people have abused their power, because there's the flow of information that's opening up again. And so this is the overlay for the whole week. This aspect here, Chiron, sesquisquare, or I'm sorry, what am I saying? Chiron quincunx, the south node. This is all week long, and I think it was pretty much all week long last week. So there's the opportunity, the light is shining, the public's going to know it. We're going to know what our hidden false beliefs were that we can turn around and make things right within us, right? But then on the public stage, we're also going to see people who lied in the past to try and control others, and now they're going to be facing a crisis point for them. But, expect lies in ads that you'll see, probably at the beginning and end of my videos, because they're all out there. And if I cut off political ads, then I'm cutting off money that takes, care of me. And I'm basically doing these videos for pennies on the hour anyway. So, yeah. But if you do subscribe to YouTube's, Pro or whatever, where it's ad-free, it gets a monthly, I think it's like $15 or $16, $17, something like that a month. Then you won't have the ads, and we do still get a little bit. Us, channel operators still get a little bit. So that, just expect that through the midterms, we are going to see lies like we've never seen before. But we're also so much wiser. And like I said, librarians rule, librarians rock. We are going to see people come out, investigative journalists come out and say, hold on, just like with Herschel Walker, the gal that he paid for an abortion for all those years ago, she had the receipt. She even had the get well card that the check was sent in. And, he can stand there and lie and act like, he sends money to a lot of people, whatever. We know the truth because it's really easy to do the math in your head, right? And, hey, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe because of all the brain damage, which could just be a big old excuse, but maybe because of all the brain damage, he doesn't remember anything. So fine, whatever. We see the truth. That does not make a person qualified to hold any level of, government position. And they want him there for just that token placeholder because he would be that one person in the Senate. So they're fighting on this guy's head. They're fighting on his back, on his head, on his body, as if they are the old slave masters that they are from past lives. And here he is a black man, and they are using him. And he's allowing that. So, it's like you don't ever let the white man pat you on the head, right? Well, he's letting him do a whole lot more. And that's what we're seeing. And that's the spin with Mars, square Neptune, to the nth degree. That's the best example I can come up with right now. I'm thinking there's probably 25 others out there that you guys know about, and you can put in the comments to help me out, because I have to stay focused here. Otherwise, we'll be here for hours. So the other things that are all week long, well, actually, let me just focus on the full moon, and then I'll move forward, because otherwise we get too many aspects in one chart and it defeats the purpose of learning. So, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think I may have already said it, because these other aspects are going to be here tomorrow in tomorrow's chart, right below this one. And I just did cover the moon conjunct Chiron opposing the Sun and Venus in Libra. So Aries to Libra. Which relationships can you trust? Who's been lying in the past? Right? While Jupiter, I'll touch on one more thing before I flip the chart here, but while Jupiter is also opposing Mercury, so we're seeing the big fat liars come out, it's also healing for us, healing our false beliefs. But notice this little semi-square here from Jupiter to Uranus. This will be with us all week as well. Uranus helps us to make changes. Uranus is change, whether we like it or not, it's coming, so you might as well go with it, because life is change. Uranus does everything to wake us up and helps us to detach from things that are no longer good for us. Now, sometimes we can have those big ol' aha moments with Uranus, and other times it can be a shock. And it's like, oh my goodness, whoa, how did I not see this coming? It can change things in a moment and flip things to the other direction. And so with Jupiter here in this semi-square, this will be, and Jupiter's retrograde no less, and Uranus is retrograde no less, all right? Jupiter will be retrograde until November 23rd. Uranus will be retrograde until next year, January 22nd, actually. It'll retrograde all the way back to 14. So, I forgot to look and see how long this little semi-square. Now, while, mind you, it's not like a square, right? It's a half square, but it's still there. It still creates this tension of the need to do something. And sometimes it's the shocking. So you look at the planets that the tension's coming from and the need to do something. Not just think about it anymore. The need has to be, the need is, it's necessitating an action. The action has to be taken. With Jupiter, it's so that the healing can happen, so that things can move forward in a way that promotes life, because Jupiter expands. In Aries, we're talking survival. I'm here, remember Aries energy. I'm here. I have a body, right? Taurus, I have a body. It has needs. We have to take care of our human bodily needs. That is on the table here, and we can see how, even the hurricane in Florida and Puerto Rico and oh my goodness, there were a bunch of people in Thailand this morning that lost their lives due to, somebody coming in and shooting them up. It's not just the USA, it's everywhere. These transits are happening globally. We could just as easily put Putin over here, because he's supposed to be a Libra, but that's the thing is, I don't know if I trust anything that comes out about that dude as far as personal information. So, but we do have issues all over the world going on, which has to do with people in positions of power. And we don't have that sextile anymore between Neptune and Pluto. So the opportunity is gone for these people in power who have been screwing up, right? And the information is going to continue to come out. So maybe we just let these powerful politicians is a better way to say it, or anybody in a position of power. Let them be an example of how not to live your life, how not to be. If you want to be in a position of power, the spotlight will be on you, and you better be clean, because it'll come out later if you're not. So, and you can see here Saturn is still squaring Uranus, and it's actually squaring. Here's an interesting takeaway. Saturn, we don't have the square in the program here because of 44 minutes to 29 minutes, but tomorrow we do, and then it's in there for all week, but it's still there. 2 minutes doesn't matter enough to take away that type of a square. So Saturn is still in the T-square between the nodes. Saturn, the taskmaster. Aquarius, the people, right? Who do these dirty politicians think are going to win, right? And sadly, the only way that the GOP can win nowadays is to cheat, because they're so outnumbered. And, Rovember's coming, right? So, just like I was saying, Saturn, square Uranus, and the North Node, and then over here to the South Node, so there's that T-square. That just imagine, put the word tension right there on Saturn. And with Uranus, it's to break things up so that we can assess our values in Taurus and make the changes needed for our own self-preservation. And we're talking women's reproductive rights. We're talking secrets that come out from, Saturn. Just think government. People that want to hold things, and you could just as easily put Turtle Mitch McConnell right here in his hard rigidified mind, like, I don't move, nothing gets past me, blah, blah, blah. That's the best example of Saturn in the dark. Of a government official that I could make would be Mitch McConnell. If that doesn't drive home what Saturn can mean at its worst, I don't know what else could. And of course, turtles are ruled by Taurus, and he's a Pisces, but whatever. Things are going to be breaking up for him, whether he likes it or not, because I predict he's not going to be holding on to power anymore. And Uranus, now the nodes always run opposition to each other, right? So we've got the 13 there, but Uranus is also opposing the South Node, the past, and conjunct the North Node in the future. Which outer planet do you think will win? Well, I predict Uranus, because it breaks up Saturn. The slower moving planets are the most powerful. And so the moon's in Taurus newly today, and I'll look at that. But Saturn trine the sun, and I'm going to include Venus there because she's still helping, and up to Pluto. Mercury to Pluto there. Okay, that's still there like I was talking about. But we have a grand air trine going on right here, which is the point I was trying to make. And then I went nuts. Saturn in this air trine. So Libra to Aquarius. Well, actually, I should say The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And now Saturn is up here. We can't really say which apex because we've got an even trine, like which one's more powerful here. Well, I have to go with Saturn because it's a slower moving planet. So again, the sun and Venus. So Venus is what we value. It's our money. Up here, we could just as easily have OPEC and the Saudis and other dark, dirty, greedy, money over people players. But the sun and Venus are shining the light on Saturn, and we know what's going on. Like, it's easy to look up and see what a barrel of oil is going for, and then compare that with what a gallon of gas is going for, and understand who's manipulating the market, and then you go, well, gee, I wonder why. I mean, it doesn't take much. There's no rocket science around it. Basic common sense. So, but in our personal lives, this is excellent energy for Saturn establishing and committing to relationships that are much more open and free and thinking outside the box, and where there's a lot of communication going on. And if you don't have that, you're going to want that. And if you've been stuck in some stodgy type of relationship where there's not the communication that you want, I think you're going to go for it. I think you're going to push a little bit more with Mars in Gemini there. And more power to you, right? If you're in a relationship with somebody, they should be talking to you. We should be talking to each other. On some level, I mean, of course, we all need our time, our downtime, and we all need our quiet time. But it's like, can we talk a half an hour a day or 15 minutes a day? How about that, right? So it's like friendships. I mean, if you're not there to invest in the friendship, it's probably going to fall apart. Or if there have been communication challenges, which is, of course, I won't draw it in again, but the Neptune square Mercury. Sometimes we have to put out that extra effort to connect because maybe they're feeling kind of like lost at sea. There could be, problems going on in their lives, and you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. That would especially be true with Jupiter in the semi-square here to Uranus. Jupiter gives the benefit of the doubt, and in Aries, it can kind of move, get some energy moving to go in a little bit of a different direction, even though it might be kind of uncomfortable. But you have to go for what you want. So now that the moon has crossed over Chiron and it's clear and in Taurus, things are moving more slowly. You can see that we have the square to Pluto this morning. Oh wait, I left it at 4:51 p.m. for some reason. Was it to get? Oh, I think it was to see where the moon, when it moved to. Yeah. Okay. And then I went back to 6 a.m. after that. Yeah, that's what it was. I wanted to get some exact times there. So just remember that Monday morning early, it's still the moon in Aries, and it won't be until later in the evening that it slows down into Taurus. So there's still high energy. The Aries moon will be high energy. We do have to be careful with impulsiveness with anything Aries, right? But I'm saying that only from the standpoint of like words that you might have to take back later and go, oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it that way. Especially nowadays. I mean, it happens to me all the time on my channel. People don't mean what they're saying the way they're saying it, but it's so easy to misconstrue when it's, just the written word, right? They're just trying to make a good point, and I'm like, but wait, I already said that. or I wasn't trying to say it. I didn't say that, and then they go, oh, I know you didn't say it. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to tell you. And then I go, oh, thank you for clarifying, right? It happens all the time. So that's part and parcel of Aries energy, and I don't mind it at all. It doesn't bother me. But I do mind it when people are just being cruel and snarky just to be able to say something, I guess. Then those I just block. You don't get to comment anymore. Only so much snarkiness allowed, right? So Jupiter will continue to oppose, Mercury. Oh, that's the reason. I should have written the note up here. I'm so sorry. The reason I set this at 4:51, I was trying to figure out when Mercury would hit Libra. That's the deal. So now we have that exact opposition. Mercury newly into Libra shifts the paradigm of helping our brains get out of overthinking and more into a peaceful place of relating. And I'm thinking that that's probably going to be healing with Jupiter. And Jupiter's going, no, Mercury goes too quickly, though. Jupiter won't retrograde fast enough for Jupiter or for Mercury to get moving forward. But you can see right here, this right here. This is important. But it's the same energy as healing that I was speaking to before with Jupiter, expansive Jupiter opening up into new territory with Aries, new ways of relating in Libra, where before at the later degree of Virgo, now you're clear on what's really been going on within you and maybe within a relationship, and maybe now that Mercury is in Libra for for quite some time. Not too long, because Mercury does move pretty darn quickly. It can, unless it goes retrograde and stays, retrograde for quite a while, like Mars is going to do. We're going to have Mars in Gemini till I think March next year. It's like, whoa. But anyway, before it gets into Cancer, it has to go back, and it's going to stay, I think, over 6 months in the sign of Gemini, which is rare. It only happens every so many years. So this is going to be really important for pushing out the energy needed and the facts that are needed to make informed choices when we go to vote in 2022 and 2024. And preparing for the 2024 vote as well. So anyway, back to Mercury in Libra. So Mercury changes signs, it's like every about 2 weeks to, a month. So we have at least through the end of the month, I'm thinking. The sun will get into Scorpio. Oh my goodness, about the end of the month, right? 23rd, 22nd. Sometimes it changes, by the year, from one year to the next. I know I have one granddaughter who was born a very late degree Taurus, but feels a lot like a Gemini. And I'm like, oh yeah, because your progressed sun moved into Gemini when you were just a baby. So, yeah. But anyway, so Mercury in Libra will have us communicating in a much more balanced, open way. Will have us thinking, because we've gotten the facts, right, when it was in Gemini. Now we're going to be able to make those decisions in a little better way. But we might make a decision and then go, oops, that was too far out. I got to come back in and renegotiate. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, Mercury is good at negotiating. Mercury is great at hooking up those patterns. And in Libra, it's going to be good because it's an air sign. And trying to Pluto, no less, it's going to be really good for helping us, figure out what we really want in relationship and then negotiate it if need be, make the decisions if need be much more fair than we ever had been. Decide in a way that brings in, equality. I think this is all going to be very, very good for the vote. Now, we're probably past or very close to like the restrictions around, the being registered, our registration restrictions for the November 8th vote, because I think it was probably October 8th. There are usually 30-day restrictions in there. But that was part of, the Mercury in Virgo checking those facts and making sure. And now in Libra, it's breaking through at 5 p.m. with the moon in Taurus over here in conjunct Mercury. There's an adjustment. Remember, the in conjunct quincunx aspect creates the need for an adjustment. So the moon has to do with things that we want, things that we're going for. This is actually really good. I don't feel like it's going to be a hard adjustment. And I say that because Venus is conjunct the sun, right? Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. And this is just a really tight orb going on here. It's like a 1 degree thing happening. And when you can see those other two in conjuncts here up to the sun and Venus. And again, both are ruled by Venus. Venus is wanting to relate. Venus is wanting to decide. Venus is wanting to be treated fairly, and will get pretty pissed off, actually, if they feel like somebody is lying to them, like somebody is using them, like if somebody is, if there's injustice, any type of injustice, they'll see, a wise person will see through somebody who is using them or others and trying to charm. That's the thing with Venus, Libra, and Taurus. Well, and Leo too, there can be a lot of charm sometimes, and you have to see through that. So there could be some adjustments in relationships around that, but you can talk about it, like, hey, what the heck is going on here? And you find out who you can trust, and if they've lied to you a few times, you're probably going to be done with that, right? That's just the way it is. Okay, so the other aspects are the same. Let's move on to Tuesday, and we're back to 6 a.m. The moon's still in Taurus, but look how it has inched closer and closer to the North Node, right? So back up in here, we were getting clear with new ways to expand and open and heal, and now we're stabilizing. We're in the fixed sign of Taurus, and Uranus is there, and it's about safety and stability that will protect us, from the past as well. And the moon, you can see it's going to keep going, right? It's going to get tighter close to the North Node, so the path in life towards safety. We're waking up, to the future. Whether we like it or not, we're seeing what can happen. But what I'm really drawn towards is, notice how the moon is here. Let's isolate this one little aspect here. This 8 degrees, and Jupiter at 1 degree. We have this semi-square here, and then the semi-square here to Mars. And we have that arrow, type of a configuration again. But then we also have Neptune square Mars going on, so that's where I'm saying this is on the table. This Mars square Neptune is on the table until December 1st. If people are lying to you or trying to pull the wool over your eyes, or they're lying to themselves, and then you're just kind of like, I don't know if I even respect this person anymore, because if you don't have yourself, you can't really give in relationship much. And maybe some of us get tired of being the one that is always holding the space for healing, and shit happens that should never happen if you were in a relationship that was more equal. That's what's on the table, personally. Politically, the liars are being seen, and they are going down. And with this moon in at 8 degrees Taurus, so Taurus wants safety, it wants security, it wants faithfulness, self-preservation. It can sometimes get stuck, but because it's fixed energy, just like Scorpio is. But it's that polarity here of safety, trust, intimacy, security, self-preservation, my resources, your resources, things like that. And then with Jupiter over here in Aries, this is forging a new path in your life. And now with the moon joined in, whoa, because the moon is bringing in the whole, you can feel it in your guts. It's connecting the dots, right? If your digestion's off today, look and see, like, why. Maybe there's some trauma, some old trauma coming up that's making you feel, nauseated. That's normal. When you're healing old trauma, nausea is normal. Depression is normal. That's part of it. So lots of deep breathing and letting go, tons of water, movement, all of that helps. And, crying in the fetal position when those feelings come up too. That's the other part of it. So, but anyway, this arrow we have going on here between Mars, we could say Mars to Jupiter has some action. We can say, of course, Mars to Neptune has some action going on, and I've already spoken about that. But with the moon connecting here, the moon's going to help us get clear with what happened in the past and then how to move forward. So there's some major connecting the dots here, and then action that can be taken. And as the moon keeps moving forward, by the time it connects with Uranus, later on during the day, let's see. Let's peek ahead. Let's see, Wednesday. Yeah, it's on the other side by Wednesday. So Tuesday is really an important day to expect some aha moments, and be willing to write down the breakthrough that came, and then use it, because it can help you heal the past, and then you'll know which way to go in the future. Because remember, Mars in Gemini is there holding space for us to get all the facts we need as to the future we're trying to create. And you can see how the grand air trine is still here in effect. That's still going on. And Mercury trining Pluto, that's still going on. Chiron in the quincunx to the south node. Everything I spoke to in the first, half hour or so is still in effect. And we even have the added power of, see how we have Uranus at exactly 18 degrees, and then we have the sun at exactly 18 degrees. That's why we have this in conjunct here, or quincunx. I never know which to call it. I think legally, astrologically, legally, the legalese, I think it's quincunx. But it's so much easier to say in conjunct. Either way, what it means is that usually Taurus and Libra, take that back. Usually the planetary, the signs don't talk as well. They don't understand each other as well. But I don't think that I can say that this time, because both of these signs are ruled by Venus, and Venus is right here. We still have Sun conjunct Venus going on. So Venus is really holding space for good relationships to get stronger and feel more safe and secure. And with or without relationships, it's always about your relationship with yourself. So there could be an adjustment that's needed, because now the light is shining and the moon is catching up over here, right? Because remember, this this is happening. This is huge. As well as, I mean, it's kind of like you could put a big anchor here, you know, like this, like an anchor, and then up here to this spotlight with the sun shining the light. It's like, let's just get the flashlight out, put it here, connects to what I want and how free I want to be, based in, you know, now you know what matters to you most. And Venus is there saying, oh yeah, okay, that's all right. We'll throw some more light on that because I'm in the game, right? Because Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So there's that. I don't know what else to say about it, actually. So let's see. Am I missing anything? That's the same. No, everything's the same. Let's move forward. Okay, so Wednesday, like I was saying, the moon's still in Taurus, but we've gone past Uranus. So there's something has occurred. And you can see the tight inconjunct up here to the Sun and Venus is still happening with Uranus, right? Even though the Sun has moved to 19, Venus has also moved up a degree, but see right here, these two green lines are still right there on Uranus. So another day to integrate and stabilize, opening up, communication. The moon has, well, goodness, yeah, you know what? I probably should have talked about that because we do have that double square going on here, but I'm kind of used to seeing it. But let's focus on this now. Again, that Saturn squaring Uranus, it's now a triple square because the moon's involved, right? See how the sun is at 18 degrees and the moon's at 21? And here we are, the south node at 13, north node there, right? It's all, that's the thing when you have stelliums, you know, when you have 3 or more planets, or when they're in that tight of an orb, even though you can see how Uranus is retrograde, but the nodes always go backwards. So it's like Uranus is trying to keep up, but it's not going to happen. We will see a separation at some point. So this is the perfect time. I love Uranus conjunct the north node because it brings the, you know, you can look at like the tail of a dragon and the mouth of the dragon, right? So what type of a new reality do you want to be eating, basically, right? And what do you want to let go of? You could look at, like, especially when it comes to Taurus and Scorpio, you could look at food and elimination. What do you want to let go of, right? So the moon has probably helped us to do that. Politically, I'm going to predict some more news dumps because remember, this isn't stopping here. This Pluto trine Mercury won't be stopping for a little bit anyway for this week. And so Mercury is the messenger bringing out news. There could be more like relationship scandals. There could be something about Jenny Thomas. Maybe by now we'll have another, I don't know when the next January 6th hearing is coming up, but maybe it's in here. It should be very fruitful whenever it comes this month. And I say that especially because don't forget this air trine, this grand air trine right here. So just think government, spin doctors and lies being exposed because we want safety. Venus above all is safety and security. And with this conjunction here, I just really have to emphasize safety and security and justice. If we don't have that, we don't have anything. And I think that might be the adjustment on the table today. That if you guys aren't getting it by now, you're gonna have to get it. That's the thing is, I do love that I'm seeing on the news when they're talking about rebuilding in Florida, that they have new building codes where, like around the coral reef area, they were saying they don't build. The problem is a lot of these homes were built in like the 50s, 60s, some of them even like the late 30s. And now they build things up on, concrete and then up on stilts. And so that when the floods come, or a hurricane with all that rain and then other floods, the whole water situation, which is Neptune square Mars. This right here, this is the energy for more floods and storms. Now they build things when they rebuild, which is going to take, months, if not years, right? They build things up so that the water can flow under and up on concrete, so that things aren't made out of wood anymore in those areas. So that's going to be huge. But insurance is going to go way up, because insurance companies, they don't like to lose money. They want to make money. And they don't want to keep paying out like this. So we're all going to have to, be making decisions about we need to start looking. And this is what Uranus does. It helps us look way into the future. It stays 7 years in one sign. Jupiter moves, one sign a year. It gets around the chart within 12 years. Saturn takes 2.5 years in one sign. Saturn's moving towards Pisces, which is a water sign. If people are not getting, that's the thing, is if you live in Florida, you have to decide now, or if you live in a flood area of Florida, I'm not going to say all areas are like that, but if you live in a country or state where things can flood, if you live in a flood zone, you have to start thinking ahead in the fact that insurance will go up. This is Saturn. We can think about insurance companies trying to figure out what they want to do in the future, right? And do you want to pay those high rates, or do you maybe want to move? And do you want to sell your house as quick as you can to get the most as you can? Because the more you put that off, unless you rebuild and do it the right way and you're up to code and it's, like this is storm central, you can get through anything right here, that kind of thing, then, it's like living on a fault line in an earthquake in California, and are you up to are you up to the new codes? I remember going through that, watching that in California, seeing all the here the best example is Fukushima, and look what they did. They can now withstand about a 10, I don't know if I'd want to live through something like that, but they built so that they can shift. It can shift. I can't remember the name of you guys probably do better. I've got my brain in astrology right now, but so words often fail me. But when it comes to getting through catastrophes, earth catastrophes, we have to think in terms of what are we willing to, pay, and where can we get, especially if you're an older person. Maybe this would be like the last time in your life you would move, and so where would that be? Because you need to get away from, I remember when I lived on the beach in Southern California, third floor condo, and I kept having dreams of the ocean coming up to my deck, not coming in, but I kept having when you keep having reoccurring dreams, the universe is trying to tell you something. And that was in 2014 actually. I moved in 2015 inland. So you have to make those decisions. And what can you afford, right? These are the lessons here. Money, what can you afford? What other resources can you be involved with other people, right? We do have the insurance dynamic going on here, and especially with Saturn here in Aquarius, and they are not going to be wanting to pay out FEMA's doing its best, I guess, but it seems like it's never enough. Biden's doing his best, but it's doing way better than Trump would ever do, but it's still just not enough when people have died. There's 100 people died. Over 100 people drowned to death. It's like, what? So, my heart goes out to everyone, but then on another level, we have to look way, 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 way into the future and think about, I keep saying this over and over and over, and it has to do with relationship, it has to do with foundations, it has to do with crisis situations, and then stabilizing yourself. I keep saying over and over and over, is your life sustainable? Have you created your life in a way that it's sustainable? Now, that doesn't mean that you're always going to have control over things, but when you can be like the best Girl Scout or Boy Scout and do the best you can, then you can relax somewhat, and the rest of it, you can't control it, so why bother? Why worry? Just live your life the best you can. But is it sustainable, right? So it's like if you're coasting on credit card debt, that you at some point you're going to have to figure out a way to consolidate that and just make those payments and get rid of it. We always have to pay the piper. There's no free lunch. There's no everything costs something. It's just the law of like paying the price of doing business in a body is expensive. It is. It just is. So you can see that the little semi-square is still here from Jupiter to Uranus. So again, that goes back to how far can we create a new life? What actions do we need to take to have a new life based in safety? Because Uranus and Taurus is inventions. It is in reinventing your life, and it has to do with safety and bliss and happiness and security, most of all. Okay? Like how do you have pleasure in your body moving through life every day if you're constantly in crisis mode? We can get through periods of crisis, but we need to, and that's the healing adjustment with Chiron here, we have to think of ways to get out of that, because to maintain a life in crisis is very, it creates PTSD. It's not good. So the moon has the trine to Pluto this morning, right here. You see the 21 degrees up to Pluto at 26. And as the moon inches forward this way, it'll be an even tighter orb, right, of that trine. So there's the free flow, two earth signs, the free flow of opportunity, of graceful ease in creating more power in your life, manifesting what you want, and really getting your heart in it, based on the wonderful transits that we've had over the last several days to help us figure out what we really want. Let's see, everything else looks the same though. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Was that Jupiter? And then up to Pluto. Yeah. Okay, so Thursday, the moon's now in Gemini. And you can probably guess that by the end of the week, the moon will have moon conjunct Mars in Gemini. So now's the time to start, even I would say Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe it's an all-week thing because this is a lead-up, to do your best to get as much sleep as you can, take the naps that you need, do whatever you need to release mental energy. So if you haven't been exercising, just do something, anything. Just get going so that you can get tension and nervousness out of your body. Because by the time the moon conjuncts Mars, it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's a lot of movement of the mind. And I'm thinking there could be, some major news dumps going on. So with Thursday, we have, I'll just use yellow. The moon, the sesquisquare here to the Sun and to Venus. Okay, the sesquisquare is a little bit of stubbornness, just a little bit, not a lot. But it, if it's an aspect in a natal chart, then it's like, oh, okay, this could be a lifelong pattern. But sometimes they're there for a good reason, to get you to hold your heels in, dig in. Other times, this has to do with, because these are two air signs, I'm thinking this is the mind speeding up, well, and especially because it's moving towards Mars. But the moon in Gemini, so we're going to want to communicate in our relationships. And if we're in a relationship where somebody is stubbornly being quiet, we're not going to like it. And the moon moving towards Mars, we're going to be asking for it. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man, let's talk about this. Why are you avoiding me? Or is there anything in there you want to say? Things like that. And the breakthroughs are very, very possible with the nodes. To have Uranus on the north node and opposing the south node, we have the ability to continue constantly to break through the past, to get more intimate. That's the polarities here between Taurus and Scorpio are wonderful for intimacy and safety, and being in that place where you're with somebody that you can trust because you know that they've got your back, and it can be intense, and there could be secrets from the past that need to come out, and that's okay. But above all, Scorpio does not like not going deep. And Scorpio can sometimes live in betrayal because they won't go deep enough to reveal themselves. So if you're dealing with somebody with a lot of Scorpio energy, it's nice to invite them out and make sure they're safe. You never want to use anything against them that they might reveal to you, but that's their greatest fear. Okay? Breakthroughs abound in that type of a situation. Now, sometimes, a lot of times, I would say 90% of the time, people just don't know what's going on inside of them. And that's what relationships are for. That's why we're here for each other, to help them understand. I'm not your mom. I'm not that old girlfriend you had, or I'm not your dad, whatever it is. I'm me. So if somebody's projecting onto you, this is the time to talk about it. And that's especially true with Saturn, trine Mars and Sun and Venus, all in air signs there. Major freedom in relationships as long as we can just get the communication going. Because communication is how we grow. If people are not able to express themselves and be seen and heard and understood, they're losing out on a real need, and we don't like feeling that way. So if we keep having to say something and the person isn't getting it, or if they're not listening and they don't want to, what do you do with that? And my heart goes out to you if this is, like you're going through this with somebody who maybe has Alzheimer's or is losing their hearing or losing their sight, or they have already done all those things and you're just with them to get them through this most difficult time of their life. My heart goes out to you. And if you guys need prayers in those departments, just please drop them in the comments. I never mind praying for people to have the support that they need. And pray to their higher selves, their guides, their guardians to help you. And that's the best we can do, is just love them through it and love ourselves through it. So you can see that the moon today has this nice, I'll just stick with the yellow. See the sextile here over to Jupiter? Sextiles bring in opportunities. So there's an opportunity to connect some dots here in a way that helps break through something and I would think in communication, in the levels of communication. And then notice that we have the aspect of the architect going on here. So the moon right here is at this like fulcrum point here, right? See that little corner there? Over to Mercury in Libra. And then, so it's like a bucket kind of an energy here. And this opens up the ability to build something greater in relationship through the power of communication. And sometimes it's just, silent communication. Sometimes it's just thinking and feeling, and there aren't necessarily words to it. But there are actions, there is energy, and everything moves with intention. Intention is the most powerful thing in the world, in the universe, actually. So, the other aspects that are important here, we have, so remember the grand air trine, that's the backdrop. The Chiron, quincunx, the south node, that's the backdrop all week. But Uranus is still in that quincunx there to Venus. It's exact, 1757, 1745, it's becoming even more exact. But this Mars right here at 23 is in conjunct quincunx Pluto. So there's an adjustment to some power structures by the 13th. An adjustment between moving ahead with more information, and which can be much, much more empowering. Pluto, now that it's no longer retrograde, but if we still go with like getting out of the shadow, the retro shade type of a thing, it could be months. But I like that both of these are not retrograde. Both, Mars, movement, moving energy, intention, the power of communication, getting out of duality. But then again, sometimes thinking, well, it's this or that. Gemini's great at like pros and cons, right? Gemini's great at questioning and learning things, and doing its best to be seen and heard and understood. When it comes to Mars, moving that energy, well, we're going to be doing that because we need to make those adjustments to our own inner integrity, being in our own authority. So, okay, so let's keep going because I don't see any other aspects to the moon for Thursday. So for Friday, you can see the moon is really catching up to Mars there. And that aspect of the architect is there to Chiron. So Chiron in Aries, absolutely, yeah. And Mars is trining, yeah. That's a lot of energy there. And the moon is also within this. So now the moon is involved in the grand air trine. Look at this, you guys. I didn't notice this earlier. This has been building up all week. So Mars is at that fulcrum point with healing our deepest sense of self, right? Like how we matter to ourselves, how we stop abandoning ourselves. I'm speaking to Chiron and Aries now. How we belong to ourselves. And then from there, we can communicate in a way that connects to others and moves the energy in our ability to relate in relationship. And that, because now it's all in this grand air trine, that helps to free up humanity. If all of humanity could do that, if all of humanity knew what their deepest wounding was, and they stopped projecting it onto others, and related from their own self-responsibility as in knowing, yeah, I came in with this false belief. I came in with this soul split that said da-da-da-da-da, and thought that that means because it said this, I have to do that to be loved and approved of. But what if I took responsibility for the fact that it's a lie, and I turn that lie around inside of me, it shifts the entire paradigm of relating to the outer world and to others. So that would be taking, with Saturn in Aquarius, taking major self-responsibility. And then Pluto up there, now the sun is in, I'm sorry, I'm probably packing in way too much information here, but I say this over and over again. And if you have an astrology reading with me, that's the main thing I'm looking for in your natal chart is like, what's your soul split? What's that false belief that you organized this life around and made you choose the parents you chose? Like, what's that all about? And we get in touch and we find that, do our best to discover it, or at least open up the question so that then you can get it. And it's always some issue around self-esteem. It's always something to do with like either I don't matter, nobody cares, I'm not good enough, I'm too much, I have to be this, that, it's not, yeah. It's not true, but when we die, we make decisions at our death. And if it's a lie, that's exactly the key to get you into that next lifetime with that set of parents that helps you tease out via rewounding you, basically, in your own false belief. That's pretty much how this happens. So anyway, the air trine going on here to Saturn, this grand air trine, is now involving the moon. So now the moon, remember, always helps us connect those dots. It helps us attach to something. It helps us intuit something that's going on. And now we have the energy to really, we're so curious. This is so, we could just put curiouser and curiouser right here. And it has to do with relationships that we will be making decisions upon or with or not. A decision to leave or stay or go or come or, get in relationship or get out of or talk about it, what's going on. That's the facilitation here with this grand air trine. And then are we in a more stable and free place? Aquarius, it loves things that are original and different and unique. And Aquarian energy is about honoring the uniqueness of every single human being on the planet. They don't like being, if you're Aquarius, you don't like you don't like to be put in a box. But then again, on the dark side with Aquarians, sometimes they're the worst because they don't care. They can be apathetic. They can cut their hearts off because if they haven't embraced, if an Aquarian has not embraced its opposite polarity, which is Leo, then we don't have that open-hearted energy. If an Aquarian wants things to be a certain way just because they want to be in control, they're going to be narcissistic. Same thing with Capricorns. They're going to be putting you in a box. They're going to be bigots. They will not be tolerant. They will be racist. They'll be the opposite of everything that goes for humanity and goes for the unique spirit of each person. Which is why we see, and we have this Saturn squaring the nodes and Uranus opposing. Uranus rules everything unique. Uranus rules Aquarius, and it rules everything that is different and unique. It's basically, you're here, and why should you be any different than you naturally are? Well, there's this man over here telling you have to be blah, 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 and we're now revolting and rebelling around that. But we have to do it in a non-violent way, of course, even though they did it by very violent ways in the past. And that's all within our, consciousness because we have experienced it in past lifetimes, right? I mean, that's the thing. Uranus is all about individuating. Neptune has to do with the collective unconscious that we're trying to dissolve the false beliefs. And we have, and look at this, man. Here, I'll go ahead and use the green. Look at this. So Neptune making an adjustment to what's coming through with the sun, and Venus is moving, there as well. The other inconjuncts are there. We have another one here, or the quincunx, I should say, from Pluto, and the moon is moving towards it, so I'm going to include it because it's going to pack a big punch here up to Pluto. I'm thinking something's going to break through by the end of this week, you guys. I really do. And we're just not having it anymore. It's like Homie the Clown. I ain't be having that. We're not doing that anymore. Yeah, Rovember's coming. So besides politically, personally, what I would say is if anybody is trying to control you or pull the wool over your eyes or lie to you, this will be the day, or by the end of the week, where you're like, yeah, not anymore. Okay, and then Saturday, you can see the moon has now gone over the conjunction with Mars. It's on the other side, so it has gathered a lot of energy. And now it's we're moving in that direction, and it's still in that inconjunct. The moon is still in that inconjunct. Mars is actually in the inconjunct with Pluto. Ooh, hold on. Let me look. Let me see how long that might last. Do I still have? Oh wait, that's December 3rd because I was looking that. Let's go back. Bear with me for a second. Let's go back a month. Yeah, check this out, you guys. November, well, I don't know if you can see that there. November 3rd. That inconjunct is still there. So this is happening from 25. Oh, that's right, because Mars goes retrograde by then. That's right. Mars goes retrograde October 30th. So we need to talk about this because this is going to be in effect for some time. Right here. The moon is giving us a glimpse this month. The moon, and especially today, yesterday and today, 14th and 15th. The moon is giving us a glimpse of the adjustment to power structures that is going to be made in the future. This is gonna, this is gonna carry us into the midterms. Let's see, that was 1 month. Let me go ahead just by days. How long is this lasting? Goodness. Past the midterms. Oh, how unique. Okay, interesting. So there's a finger of fate happening on November 11th. That, I don't know if you can see this here. That sextile between Venus. Well, Mercury's involved too, but mostly Venus to Pluto, and then down here to Mars and the moon. Wow. Yeah, because the moon, every 28 days. So next time the moon conjuncts Mars, it's going to be in a finger of fate to Pluto and Venus. Wow. Yeah. You know what? Rovember, man. Totally. Rovember. I hate to predict, but I really feel like some powerful politicians are going to be knocked on their heads, knocked on their ears for the turnout, because the energy's there, and the moon is all about the feminine and families. It's not just us women. We have a lot of men that want to support us as well, because they can put themselves in our place and go, yeah, I wouldn't like anybody telling me I couldn't have a vasectomy, right? Or I couldn't have health care on my genitalia just because of some, people in power that said I can't. It's like, Handmaid's Tale kind of bullshit. I mean, what? Oh my God. So, Saturn in Aquarius is all about human rights. And squaring the nodes, this has to do with the new laws that we need and the laws that need to be codified. And then we need new laws for humanity, and they need to be enforced. And this is the beginning of a lead up to Rovember, because you just saw the dates there. We're looking ahead to looking ahead to November 11th. If it'll focus, there you go, November 11th, 4 a.m. even. Yeah, because Mars is retrograde, and it's going to be holding. So this Mars is direct now, but it's going to be retrograde, and it's going to be holding this in conjunct for some time to Pluto. And then, so as it goes to retrograde, it'll go back, and then it'll go forward. And it'll have to, there's that threefold phase. Then it'll have to go forward again, so it'll hit this, we'll have this inconjunct here. And people call quincunxes inconjuncts like a minor aspect. It's not my experience. It's challenging. It's really challenging because you need to make an adjustment from one side or the other. Well, Pluto's going to win because we're going to be in our integrity as to what we want with our bodily autonomy. And the Moon and Mars is going to, give us the energy to get things going. We won't, being stuck is not an option anymore. Yeah. Okay, so the other little thing for Saturday is, it's just to the North Node, but it's still there. It's the Moon, right? Oops. The Moon here in that little semi-square there to the North Node. So, yeah, again, it's the same thing that I just said. Basically, we as women and men and family members, we all have, most of us have sisters, and we all had a mother. We all have mothers. We all had grandmothers. We all, you know what I mean? We're not going backwards in time and getting rid of, human rights. We're moving forward because we know what we want and what really matters and what we value the most. So, let's see, 28, 22. Yeah, okay, so during the night, you can see that this trine was building from the Moon to Venus and the Sun, actually. Well, Mars especially. Well, Mars is in that grand trine, that grand air trine to the Sun. So that's still there, right? Like this whole thing is still really important. If that doesn't get people talking and thinking and arguing and all of that about human rights, I don't know what would. And making decisions, right? Based on maybe somebody will open their mind and their heart and put themselves in the shoes of what it might be like to be a woman or 10-year-old girl that got raped by her uncle or brother or dad or some jerk off the street. And, I mean, yeah, the stories, not stories, the actual experiences I've held space for with little girls, that grown women now, but were little girls then. It happens, and it has happened forever, and it needs to stop. So, but back to the Moon in the trine up to the Sun, that brings together the communication. Mars trining the Sun and Venus. Again, all of this about, feminine rights, feminine, the protection that we need, right? If you're a man, put yourself in the place of or if you're a man, there's always a bigger man. I mean, like size, like that could beat you up, like that kind of a thing. Like no matter how big you are, there's always somebody bigger. Imagine being a small, vulnerable little girl or a woman, and how that fear can translate into hatred if you've been violated. And this is in our collective consciousness and unconsciousness, whether or not we want to admit it. So there's that in conjunct there between Neptune and the Sun. There is something that this next week, the light is shining brightly on that. Truly. This is going to be really interesting to see what comes out on the news, and the opportunities for coming together is the way I can see this best, because Venus, if the only thing you ever remember about the planet Venus is that it wants unity, it wants harmony, and it rules Libra and it rules Taurus. And we're headed towards safety and harmony and security. And now I feel like this week there's going to be some joining together between this week and even next week, with Venus traveling with the Sun, the masculine and feminine joining together for protection. And the conversations are going to be very heated with Mars and Gemini, and also very productive. I mean, we have to look at, why do we have Mars? Why are we going to be going through a transit of Mars in Gemini for 6 or 7 months? It's there for a reason. It's there to talk about things. It has to do with fighting and activating and getting us motivated and enthusiastic and wanting to win something that needs to be won because the old way can't be anymore, right? It's going to drive us. It looks like you might as well think of Mars as being your car. It's going to drive you somewhere. Where do you want to go? Well, the choice is yours. Gemini is all about choice, and Libra is all about making decisions, because now you have the energy, or now you have the information, and the energy, information, and then making the choice from there. Yeah. What gets you going? And where do you want to go? So, okay. I think that's it then for this week. I'm not noticing anything else. There's nothing's pulling my eye or eyes. Sometimes I go cross-eyed. But anyway, I think I'm going to close this up, get this uploaded for you, and as always, big, big hugs. Sending you lots of love. Take good care. Bye.